Welcome, beautiful Thriver community. Mel here. I am so excited because we have a Thriver talk today, and this is a Thriver talk that I know a lot of our community are really waiting for and really would like to hear about. Because I have with me the lovely Lorraine. Lorraine, thank you so much for coming forward.
Thank you, Mel. So thrilled and honored to be here.
Where Lorraine's story is so powerful is because she had 45 years, all of her adult life, really, with a narcissistic partner. And we're going to talk about that journey today. And we're going to talk about how Lorraine liberated herself. And I know that there's a lot of people in our community, dear listeners, who are going through this. You have either been stuck in a long-term narcissistic relationship, and maybe you're still there, and you don't know how you're going to get out and survive and reboot your life. And maybe you have left, but you are still deeply traumatized and in aftershock and haven't broken through to what we call the other side. So, with great joy, here is Lorraine. So, Lorraine, we're going to jump straight in. All right. So, 45 years is an enormous time. Now, I'd love you to share with everybody how bad your breakdown was of yourself and what was going on in that relationship and where did it end up?
Well, with that long of a marriage, you can imagine there's more than one breakdown. But I didn't know what I was dealing with for many years. I knew he was um, only 3 years into the marriage. I saw some cracks in retrospect. It was always about power and control, especially financial abuse and control. And I was such a good girl. I just thought, okay, this is what marriage is. I just have to go along to get along and be the best wife I can and so forth. And, I entered into this relationship a strong, independent woman, 22 years old, just graduated from college, moved to a metropolitan area, met him, the typical story, Mel. Um, instant connection, thought I'd hit the jackpot. He was smart and funny and intelligent and ambitious and charming and treated
Charming.
me like a queen. And I had never been treated so well, wined and dined and lived together for 5 years, married, thought I was on top of the world until 3 years in and pregnant with my first son, getting into our first property, a condo, and the money, control, and power started, and other ways of control. And it just one thing led to another. I had another son. We moved to another house, another community. I stopped. It was decided I would be home with the children, and he used it as another device of control, with him being money is power. That was his thing. And I had none. And it caused a lot of health issues for me, which kept me down and complacent in a lot of ways. I suffered horribly from depression, just
Mm.
deep depression. Most of the time I was depressed more than I wasn't. And it was hard. I just soldiered on. I just was trying to be a good mother and did everything I needed to do. And I had very bad adrenal issues and thyroid issues. I had no energy, brain fog constantly. I don't know how I got through it when I look back. I had half a life. Aches and pains, weight gains, weight loss, anxiety, never feeling safe. But then, as in many marriages and relationships like this, there's just enough crumbs of good stuff to keep you going. Um, and I knew deep down this was wrong. It wasn't right. It was crazy making. There were days that when he was at work and the kids were at school, I would just go in the car to a remote area and scream my head off. I just was
Wow.
so beside myself, knowing something was horribly wrong and not knowing what to do, feeling so helpless, hopeless, and powerless, that very much becoming codependent and just, the depression I read later on, and it really just, we all know it's anger turned inwards, but
Yeah.
really when it comes to narcissistic abuse, um, depression is the resistance to the futility of your situation. And that, I think, describes it perfectly. I was
That is
constantly
so
hitting my head
true.
against the wall to figure this out, figure him out, make things better. Self-help books, just,
Yeah. And I
the
just want to
pendulum
jump
was
in and
swinging.
talk about that, Lorraine,
Yes,
because I know that you were, pretty much you've been spiritual for a lot of years, and a lot of
yes.
people who have been in toxic relationships have reached out to spirituality and truth seeking and are often avid people trying to improve ourselves and heal ourselves to heal our relationships. So what had you done? Like, what did you read or what did you connected to?
Uh, well, when the pendulum swung and I was feeling a tiny bit better, I would, a lot of the people you've mentioned, Louise
Yeah,
Hay, Wayne Dyer, Joe Dispenza. I would just read lots of other people, Neil Donald Walsh. I would take classes. I would do affirmations. I would do meditations.
right.
I did theta healing. I did herbology. I did nutrition. I did
Yeah,
everything. And I
yeah,
learned a lot,
of
and it felt
course.
good in the interim. It helped a little,
Yeah.
but as I learned from you later, the missing link really was getting the trauma out, shifting the trauma. As somatic, you can't, as you always eloquently say, you can't just put ice cream on poop, and it's just not going to
Which was
work.
the late
And
Debbie Ford's expression. And I loved it from the moment I heard it because
yes, and
it's,
it
yeah,
describes it perfectly. Everyone
yeah.
gets it when you say that. So,
Yes. It's such a great visual, isn't it? And the
yes, it
trauma is the
is.
poop. And we have to get it
Yes.
out. Okay, so you'd
Oh,
and probably those things you were doing, helped, and they often can help you survive it.
yes.
But
It got me to the next point and the next point until another downward turn. And it was just this back
yes,
and forth constantly
yes.
and no semblance of self. And just each time you just lost a little more of yourself and
Oh, and
got
it's
more
huge
hopeless.
over 45 years.
Yes.
That is
Yes.
crazy.
You know,
Okay, so you hadn't been able to leave, but you were able to kind of, I mean, that's pretty incredible. A lot of us never would have got through 45 years. So that shows A, how strong you were and how your coping mechanisms to a point, even though you're breaking down, kept you there. And also, too, it's a big deal, when that's all you've known to get out of a
right.
relationship.
I invested so much in this relationship and didn't want to break up my family, but
Oh,
knew at a
gosh.
gut level that it just, how could I stay in this marriage? And it took a few more breakdowns for me to finally wake up. And for many years, I didn't know he was a narcissist. I just knew he was toxic.
Yeah.
And that, I think when I've had several breakdowns, but the first one was really finding out when his career took off in high tech that he was traveling a lot constantly. And I was home alone with the kids, and he's gone 2 weeks, 3 weeks at a time to Asia and other places. And I
Yeah.
found out he was engaging in sexual liaisons, one
Yeah.
off ones. And
Mm,
my world was rocked and completely broken. And yet, what
mhm,
was really, that part was bad, but the worst part was facing myself in the mirror and seeing and knowing that I was the type of woman that was too, I was so codependent and so traumatized and so
mhm,
scared about
mm,
leaving that I
mm.
couldn't, even then. And that was a very low point for me. I Getting past that was very difficult. And of course, he was good for maybe a year, not hardly, and then back to the normal stuff. And then we had to move to another state. And I didn't want to do that and leave my family and friends. But he wanted to, because he wanted to triangulate me away from my support network, because I was starting to disconnect from him, and he knew it. And that was that.
Mm,
And so we did. And a few more breakdowns happened, and that's he had vision issues, but always had good corrective lenses. But things had started going downhill for his vision, and he couldn't drive anymore when we moved to this other state. But he decided to use it as a device of control. That, oh, since I need you to take, I did all the driving, which I had no problem with. I never complained. I was happy to help him. But he decided consciously, oh, I can control her even more now. I can
Oh
control her
gosh.
whereabouts. Oh, you can't go hang out with your girlfriends all night because I might need you. No, you can't
Yeah,
go visit your mother because I can't be alone.
of
He
course.
could. He was a completely capable, smart man.
Mm,
He just didn't want to. And he used it
yeah.
as an excuse because he never accepted his condition to use it as a hammer against me and other people, to be mad at the world about it. And so that really was the writing on the wall that this was going to be my life, that he was going to
Wow.
treat me like this. He was the priority now. I had to
Yep.
drop what I'm doing to take him any place he wanted because he thought, because I have a disability, you have to do whatever I
Mm,
want. And I'm like, no. I was
yeah, for
working.
sure. Okay,
I
so
was working. And
let's move on. Let's move on. So, how did you find out about our Thriver community? How did that happen?
well, after we moved to this other state, I reconnected with an old college friend who I was very close to over the years. We always were very connected and vulnerable with each other, could talk about anything. And we had shared with each other our disappointments in our marriage, and she was married to a similar man, toxic, and didn't treat her well. She had found out about your NARP program,
Right.
and she told me about it. And I was blown away because I had just recently found out from my research that he was a narcissist, and that was
Okay.
enough of a shock.
Perfect
But
timing.
good. It explained a lot of things,
Yeah.
and I was able to see why I acted the way I did and start to forgive myself a little, you know,
Yeah.
and realize I was trained as a child. My father was a narcissist, everything. And
Mm,
so finding out about NARP was what broke everything open for me. I
mm,
finally had a way. I wanted to leave my marriage. I just didn't feel, I didn't know how I could do it. I was so entrenched,
mm,
so trauma bonded. And then I
mm,
had names for everything. I had names for the cognitive dissonance, and
mm,
the peptide addiction and everything I was feeling. You know, I
mm.
could finally say I'm not crazy here.
It
So
explained what was going on.
yes,
So, what
yes.
happened when you started doing the modules? Because you were still with him at the time. So,
Mhm.
what happened for you?
Starting the modules. Yes, it was right after the lockdown.
Yeah.
I'd had a little breakdown before that, and my body fell apart. My marriage was falling apart. I
Mm,
couldn't barely function. He was
mm,
being so horrible to me, not supportive, not helping me whatsoever. When I've helped him
mm,
so much
which
over
is
the years,
usual. When
you
it's
know,
when
and
they have
getting
to
mad.
help you, it's a completely different
No,
thing. Yeah.
right, getting mad. I couldn't make him dinner because I was too sick, and
Yeah.
things like that. Just I knew I could never depend on this man to help me if I got seriously ill. So I was done with him. And when I found about NARP, I found it was it was the light in the tunnel. I could see a way out with your
Hmm.
system. And
Mm,
it's right at the lockdown. I got COVID. He got COVID. It was 6 or 8 weeks for me. I was so down, and I was already weak
mm,
to begin with. And so they couldn't have come at a better time. And once I got better, I got right on it. I did not hesitate. And I was scared to death. I didn't know what
mm,
to expect. But let me
mm,
tell you, after first doing module one,
mm,
I could feel some space opening up inside me. I could I could see that, okay, I was scared to death, but I'm going to baby step this. And I did. I kept at it, even on days I didn't feel like it.
mm,
Um, and more space opened up. And
mm,
more and more grace, more and more compassion for myself
mm, which
happened,
is everything. Yeah.
very much so.
Yeah.
Um, and the way you design the modules is, in retrospect, so beautiful. you totally understand the process we go through,
Mm.
going from one to the next to the next. I just followed along. I didn't
That's all
try
you
to
have to
jump
do.
around, and it really helped,
Mm.
and the process was just so true on how what you
Mm.
go to next and next. And
Mm.
I just kept at it. And now the lockdown happened, so I had no excuses. I
Yeah.
turned, the lockdown was horrible for everyone, no doubt.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
but since I was stuck there with him and
Yes.
I couldn't physically leave yet right away, but
Yeah.
I knew if I just stuck to it, I could. And I did, and I turned my thinking around about the lockdown and said, you know what? It's probably the best thing that ever happened to me because I
Yes.
had no excuses. I had nowhere to go, no people to see. I had my privacy. I went into one part of the house, he went in the other with his projects. And I said, I'm closing this door. I'm meditating to feel better. And, he didn't know about it, of course, and he didn't like it. But after a while, he got used to it. So I would spend half my days in there, NARPing and
You were in there
journaling
doing the
and
inner work, getting the
inner
trauma
work.
out, getting the light in.
Yes, yes. And there was lots of help. Your blogs are amazing. I would read them over and over.
Oh, thank
Um,
you.
and it just, you would just find every angle on every subject and feel it completely. So you're always hitting something. Something was always resonating. Or if I didn't understand it, I did understand it in another month or 2 months or whatever. And your videos were amazing. And, thyroid videos, were incredible and getting me encouraged to keep going. That
Yeah.
healing is not linear. You're going all over the place with it, but if you stick to it, and stick with NARP, um, I,
Yeah.
you know, what she says and what she says will happen if you stick to it really does happen. If it can happen for me, a 66-year-old woman who spent her whole adult life being narcissistically abused, and that
Mm.
I could dig myself out of that hole
Mm.
and get through, you can too.
Mm.
I know you can. This whole community, I've taken many classes from you, and
Mm.
we have a strength we don't even know,
Mm.
because if we're in this community, we're strong. We may not feel
Mm.
strong every day, but we're strong. And we know
Mm.
deep down that we are worthy. And until we can get the debris out of the way, just like the
It's
saying goes, the
so
sun is always shining. You
true.
just have to get the clouds out of the way, you know?
Yeah, and just to unpack that a little bit, what I love about that, yeah, look, COVID, put you in that situation. But what we find with all of our thrivers, including beautiful people like you, Lorraine, because you're not Robinson Crusoe. We've had long-term people, even in their 80s, get
Yes, and
out to
that
the other
encouraged
side.
me. That
Yeah,
encouraged me.
yeah, which is so beautiful. And by the way, you look amazing for 66.
Oh,
What I love about all of our thrivers, when the trauma's out and the light gets in, you start glowing. It's beauty from the inside out,
look
and
what
you
I
are
found. I found my smile again. Just,
but your cells are smiling, you can tell. That's the
yes.
thing. So here it is. So you were locked down, and I just want people to understand, and I say it all the time, the blogs and the blogs and my videos, they're supplements, because they're supplements, but the true inner work that makes the difference 100% of the time is the trauma out the light in, which is the actual modules. And then the
Yes.
supplements help give you the guidance, the encouragement, the understanding, the power. But understanding is not inner standing.
Yes.
Information is not transformation. And it's
No,
that. And you did the work, and you still do the work, which is really, really beautiful. So people, Lorraine, are going to be pretty shocked to hear you've only been out of the marital house for 4.5 months.
that's right.
You
That's
are
right.
basically not suffering aftershock. And aftershock is that phenomenon when most people leave, and you may have people tell you, well, you've left, you're going to be all right now. You're not, because the trauma from yesterday, last week, last month, last year hits you like a freight train. And a lot of people go back, or a lot of people get on medication, or just all sorts of things to try and cope, because you feel like you're dying. You feel like you're losing your mind. Now, you've barely gone through that. Now, I know the reason why you're barely go through that, because I see the night and day recoveries. And the day recoveries are you clean out any triggers with NARP, you keep working the modules and healing. And you're doing speedy shifts now, aren't you, too?
I am. I mean, I can't tell you how
No.
happy I am with speedy shifts. I feel like, when our parents talked about, when they were young, they had to walk 5 miles through the snow to get to school and whatever. It's like now, from the other NARP to speedy NARPs, it's like quantum, up leveling. And anyone get speedy shifts. If you're new to NARP, do the NARP because you need to have that basis. I really
Mm,
do believe that.
mm,
And
mm,
there are some speedy NARP modules as well
mm,
now, which I've
mm.
done, which are fabulous. But get a little baseline going to understand the
Yes.
process
Yeah.
and spend some time with it.
Yeah.
But when you keep moving through it, I mean, yes, speedy
Mm-hmm.
NARPs are amazing, especially for women or for people on the other side. It's just there's no excuses anymore. My God, you got 8 minutes? Then get in there and do it. And
Yeah.
you have, and I do them, as often as I need, and
Yeah.
I've done it from the day one of leaving my ex, and I'm not going to stop. I'm I'm hooked.
Yes.
it's the way. It's the only way. It's the quantum way. And
Yeah. Yeah.
once you feel it and once you do it and really feel the difference, you're
Mm,
never going back. You can't go back to the way you lived before. You
mm.
just can't.
It's beautiful. And yeah, yeah. I love when you left him because I know a little bit about this story. Like when you left, you just basically declared it and did it, didn't you? There was in your
I surprised
power, it
myself.
was like, right.
I was done. When I was done, I was done. And I worked through a lot of the fears. I worked those
Mm,
modules big time, especially the one about not taking responsibility for him in regards to his vision disability. It was probably my last bastion
yeah,
of feeling a little
yeah.
guilty or whatever, but I worked on that. I cleared it and I addressed it on day one with him. I spoke my truth to that man for 6 weeks. He tried to work on me to change my mind, and I wasn't changing my mind. But every time I told him my truth, it got easier and easier. And I was able to just connect and just keep, and I was the leader of the whole process. I was willing to lose it all to get it all, but
I
I had
love
a
that.
plan and I knew what he needed and wanted, and I leveraged it. So
Wow.
I think I surprised him. He's a big
Oh,
businessman,
gosh.
type A person. He did
He would have
not
been
expect that from
floored.
me. Yes. So it was only
Mm,
4 months that we went through the process at home together until I left. It wasn't a long time.
yeah.
And I kept to
Hmm.
myself and didn't let him enter into my space, and
Yeah.
he had no choice but to capitulate.
And I love this, Lorraine, because here's the thing, outside there in the normal non MTE, non thriver, non narcissistic abuse recovery program world, everybody believes we can't stand up to them. They're too manipulative. They win in court. They're all powerful. And they literally are the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain, pulling levers with this whole smokescreen
Exactly. I love
pyromaniac
that analogy.
show. It's
It's so
not
him.
true because when we get rid of the trauma and align with source and stand, they capitulate. And it happens all the time in this community. And I
Yes.
love that
Hmm.
you're here as, because you're not, some people might think, Melanie from Australia is some kind of crazy new age kind of lunatic, but I'm not. I'm very
No,
grounded in quantum and psychological reality, as well as combining the spiritual with the quantum and the
of course.
psychology. And it works. And I love yeah, I love women like you because I meet women like you every day who I just want to say, oh, sweetheart, there is life after this. So
There
the
absolutely is.
he capitulated, and it happens all the time because bullies are actually powerless once you take your power back. Were you in our wonderful NARP support forum reaching out, or did
Yes,
you?
yes. And it especially was helpful. in the last few months
Mm,
before I told him we were divorcing. I didn't ask for the divorce. I told him.
mm.
And
I love it.
I got a lot of support and help
Go girl.
in there. And especially for that, I mean, all through the process, of course. And I
Mm.
bought the gold NARP. I wasn't going to mess around. I went
Yeah,
right to the gold. I
yeah,
wanted that
yeah,
resource.
yes,
And your
yeah,
people are wonderful, that the
yes,
moderators, and
amazing.
you've created such an amazing safe space, because we've all
Thank
been on the other
you.
kinds of forums and they're not fun. And
Thank you.
and
Because this
it's
is the bunker, this is the battlefield of complete insane toxicity, narcissistic abuse, and being able to disentangle from you. And what comes with NARP is 24/7, 365 incredible support from the
that's the
quantum
key.
untangling point of view, but also from the practical point of view, because there's nothing that we haven't seen in this community over the last 17 years, which is the insanity, which is narcissistic abuse. We know what they're going to do. We know their next steps. We know how to get you aligned. We know how to get you to stand up. We know how to help you deal with solicitors and judges in order to turn that system back to supporting you.
Hmm.
And that kind of information, guidance, training from the inside out, which is all free with NARP. And NARP is
Yes,
only like the cost of 2 counselling sessions and full money
right.
back guarantees, and you can pay it off monthly. Like it's insane. So you
Yes.
beat him. He would have absolutely died in his undies, in his underwear. with what
Yes,
with
and
oh
so many of your community don't have a support network, and
no,
that's what you are providing
no,
for so many women and men. It's
yes,
absolutely essential. You can't really do this on your own. If you think
yeah,
you can, it's going to be very difficult.
yeah,
And the,
yeah,
the kind of support that Melanie's organization and the NARP and all the other programs she has in the forum, it's invaluable,
yeah.
folks. It's a no-brainer. It really
And it is,
is.
it's mental. And you can't go to a normal counselor and get the, either A, they haven't been through it, they're still looking at it from the logical five sensory point of view, because you're in a spiritual battle for your soul. This is a
That's right.
big, deep, wide thing that needs specialized attention to be able to A, understand it, B, get your inner standing, and C, get through it. It's huge. But
It
it's
is.
not, it's actually so much easier when you chunk it down, break it down, get the steps, get the guidance, get the support. You'll actually be surprised, because hey, 4.5 months out after 45 years in, so you're out of the twilight zone, you're into
Oh,
true source self and life. Lorraine, well, I mean,
it's
I'm looking at you and you're just like, you are glowing. You look like you've been on collagen supplements for 6 months. You
well, I
look,
can't tell you how wonderful it is to live life without that toxic energy
oh,
permeating everything. And it just is night and day. And then to continue to work the program, because you're doing it with much gusto now, because it really is all for you. You're not about getting in out of the relationship. It's all for you now. And now you're soul driven. You want to do what your soul imprint what you need to do, what you want to do in this life. You're not afraid of the unknown as much, because in the unknown all the possibilities exist, all of
that's
them.
quantum.
And all you'll find in the unknown is more of yourself. and
Oh, I love that.
and and that's everything. And
Goosebumps.
we lived in such a limited thinking life and world, and now we don't have to think that way anymore. There's new rules. We're following universal laws. We are
Yes.
creating new rules that support us, you know?
Oh,
So, and
Lorraine,
that,
I
and
think you
thanks
should
to
be a
you and your program.
motivational speaker. That's just so gorgeous and so from the quantum heart that you're sharing that.
Yes. You know, the unknown is like the quantum field. It's all the possibilities are there. That's
Mm.
it.
So
And
what? So you moved out. You moved out. You moved state. Aha. So
I,
who are you living with now, and what are your next steps?
Well, I'm very, very fortunate. I have a wonderful, loving family, three sisters and mom, and my oldest sister and her husband had known what was going on. I confided in them. In fact, she helped me buy NARP because he's so controlling about every little charge. So she did it as a gift because she wanted that for me.
Oh,
And I was just touched by that.
bless.
And they went a bit further. They built a beautiful home out in the country and lots of green and a river and 35 acres. And they said, please come. We have room for you, plenty of room. Come live with us as long as you want and heal and just be. We want that for you. And they're the most kind, loving, generous people, and they have the most beautiful relationship in marriage. And they are such a good example for me. So it's been wonderful to be here. It's been like I needed a vacation. I haven't had a, and so, I came here. I'm just living, just being and feeling good and,
Mm,
working on whatever triggers may be coming up and
mm,
doing the program
mm,
but doing it, and like I said, in a whole different way
mm,
with the speedy shifts and
mm,
some of the NARP speedy shifts. And
mm.
it's, I don't know, it's more fun because it's all about me and the possibilities, So
I
I'm
love
I'm
that.
in your Thrive program right now, and
Yes,
we're coming up to
yes,
week 10, and I'm just, it's just
yes.
been amazing. I knew about this program from day one. And, it was a dream to be able to take that on when I was on the other side. I mean, I thought sometimes I couldn't get there, but I did. And it has not disappointed. Oh, if you haven't done it, you've got to take, if you're on the other side and you're having struggles or you just need a little boost, you've got to take her Thrive program. It will really
Yeah,
up level you. It
yeah.
really will. It'll get you really going on your new life and addressing.
Mm.
And she is on fire. It's more of a
Oh,
private
good.
group. She is on fire and throwing wisdom around. And you have the recordings, and I'm going to be re-listening to them. And I've got a list of shifts going on, and I'm just it's wonderful, and I
Mm.
highly recommend it. So, and after that, I'm just
Oh,
gonna I have some plans to do some training online and try a new vocation as a freelance work. And it's all, I don't know if I'll like it, if I'll do, it might lead to something else. I don't care because I'm quantum
it's
now. I just put one
gorgeous.
foot in front of the other. I go within. I put out there what I want, not goodies, how I want to
Yes.
feel, how I
Yeah.
want to feel,
Yeah.
because I can create my life. I get to decide how I feel, not from the outside in.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm building a garden in here
I
and
love that. I love that. And
creating
you
my
are
life.
so, it's just my deepest wish that you can inspire one person, but I know you're going to inspire
Exactly.
many.
I am
I
happy
really do.
to
And
give back.
Lorraine, it was awesome for you, your gorgeous sister and husband. How beautiful. But I also, like I love that. And you generated that. And do you know what? I guess for a lot of people that have been in a long term marriage, it's like a big thing to, because a lot of it has been outside appearances, like everything's fine. We were brought up that way,
Yes.
and then to actually admit and accept help is a huge thing for a lot
It
of
was very hard for me.
codependents who have
It's
been
hard for
used
me
to
to,
holding everything up themselves. So,
yes.
you had that humility to say, I need support, I need help, which obviously is like NARP and the support forum and your sister. But you know what? I met a woman years ago, and I don't know where she is now. I'd love to have her on. But she was with a very wealthy, successful, powerful narcissist. She had nowhere to go. She went to a shelter in her
Right.
60s, right? And she did the program and she healed. And then an old friend from decades ago got in contact with a very similar story who worked out in the country, had an art gallery. She went and stayed, started learning sculpting, put her sculptures, worked in the art gallery, met a beautiful man, got married, this whole new community because she was working up and cleaning out the trauma and bringing the light. And her whole, and this is exactly what I see for you. I always know because I'm in contact with people for years, NARPers, they're dear friends, a lot of them. When the trauma goes and the light comes in, source, God, creation gives you the next step. And it's
Right.
all moving towards your well-being, your flourishing, your nourishing, your true self, your
Right.
true life. It's because it's already who we are without the trauma. So you are so on track. You're
Right.
so
And
beautiful. You're so inspiring. I think you are stunning. Like inside and out, you are the kind of woman who would walk into a room and light it up because you're
oh,
lit up from the inside and you're just beautiful.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
Lorraine, if you wanted to just passing thoughts or words or encouragement that you could say to our beautiful listeners.
Yes. Well, for the long married folks, and of course the other ones as well, it's just, be compassionate, dig deep, know that you are worth it. And
Mm,
And even though it's almost like spiritual compensation where I have landed, but I was prepared to go wherever I had to go. It didn't matter. Cause I knew if I worked the program, I would be fine. Um, and you are worth it. You will, like she says, things will start coming as you keep opening space and believing in yourself and caring for yourself. And it's not too late. You just need to start. I kept telling myself, stop waiting, just start. You know, it's never going to be a perfect situation. You just have to start. And we all can do that. We can.
mm,
And just the basics. So within, so without. It's what Mel has been drilling in our heads. And we understood it intellectually until you started opening space and getting more healed. And then you realize really, it's your inner world that is your real world. That's the reality. Your external world, we live in this world, this 3D world, we have to deal with it, but we don't have to be dictated by it, right? So it's the only way you will be self generative. It's the only way you will be happy. It's the only way you're going to have the love and approval that you seek is through here. And it's all so possible and it is happening thanks to NARP. It really is. So,
Oh, Lorraine, thank you so much. I'm sure people's cells will be buzzing with love and possibility. And, you're amazing. I'm so grateful for you and being a part of our awesome community. And thank you for being a dear thriver and also, a dear friend. You're amazing. So,
thank you.
all right,
You're
darling. Thank you
amazing.
so much. And lots of love to everybody. And we'll be sharing NARP details and also, the new little Power Pack Speedy Shift course details. I'll be sharing that with this blog and with the YouTube. And this is also going to go on Rumble. So lots of love, Lorraine, darling. And I'll be seeing you in Thrive tomorrow. I can't wait.
See you tomorrow.
All right, honey. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been an honor.